Shalom and welcome back to another episode of Weekly Torah Talks, where we share timely Torah messages relevant both to the Beit HaMikdash and to your lives. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Vayetzei. In the beginning of Vayetzei, we find Yaakov, Jacob, beginning a journey from Beersheba to Haran. And it says there that Yaakov became tired and he needed to take a rest. He needed to go to sleep for the night. As it says, Vayolan sham kiva shemesh vayikach me'adnei hamakom. He took from rocks of the place, vayasem merashosav, and he put it by his head. As he's sleeping, he has a famous dream. A dream where angels are ascending and descending a ladder whose legs are on the ground, and its top reaches towards the heavens. Yaakov understands that this dream is some sort of divine message, a divine awakening, and he in fact jumps up from his sleep. Vayikatz Yaakov mishnaso, jumps up from his sleep, he wakes up from his sleep. Vayomer achein yesh HaShem b'makom hazeh. Indeed, God's presence is found in this place. Va'anochi lo yadati, and I was not aware of this when I chose to go to sleep in this place. That morning he gets up, and the verse says, "Vayikach es ha'even asher sam miroshosav," that he took the rock which he had placed by his head and he made it into some sort of monument. We said a moment ago that he took rocks and put it around his head, and now it says that he took the rock from his head. So which one is it? Was it rocks or was it one rock? So in fact, the sages explain in the Midrash, a compilation of teachings from the time of the Talmud, that indeed Yaakov first placed several rocks around his head, and then all the rocks began fighting with each other, each one saying, I want the tzaddik, I want Yaakov to place his head on me, I want Yaakov to place his head on me. All the rocks were fighting with each other. They should have the honor of being the place where a righteous person rests his head. And because they were all fighting with each other, a miracle happened where all the rocks formed into one rock. And that's what the verse means at the end when it says that Yaakov picked up the rock that was by his head. Now the Mesilat Yesharim uses this story as one of his proofs that everything in creation is really here for us to be using it in order to serve God. The Rambam, Maimonides in fact, in his introduction to the Mishnah, says that it is not possible that there exists any type of herb, fruit, or animal, from the elephants to the worms, that does not provide any benefit to man. And in the Mesilat Yesharim's definition, he would mean any benefit to man that the man can then go ahead and use it in his service to God. We even find this in the story of creation, where we see that man is created last after everything else in creation. You would have expected man, perhaps the most important creation of them all, to perhaps be created first, but he's created last. And one of the commentators explained this is because God wanted everything in creation to already be created, all tools to already be at man's disposal at the time when he's created. So then once man is created, he can go ahead and service God with everything and not have to wait for anything to be created there forward. Sometimes when people are looking for a spiritual journey, they go to the Far East, they go out to Thailand, or they recite many psalms, many tehillim, trying to get into some sort of deep meditative state. And there is a place for these things in Judaism. But we have to realize that God put us in a physical world, not just for us to avoid physical things, but in fact to make use of the physical things that exist in this world. The Beit HaMikdash, of all places, was a spiritual place, of course, the most spiritual of all. But it was also a very physical place. It was here on this world. In fact, it was just a few hundred feet from where I'm sitting right now. It was a place where all of the physical labor that's forbidden on the Sabbath is actually learnt out from the different preparations and services in the Beit HaMikdash. It was a physical place, and yet it was the place where the most spirituality was attained. Because, like the Ramchal is saying, it's not about traveling far away. It's not about just getting into deep meditative states. It's about understanding how to use the physical in the way that God wants us to, in order to elevate it and elevate ourselves and the whole world along with us. I think this is hinted to in the fact that Yaakov chose to put the rocks by his head. He could have put the rocks in a different place around his body, but he chose specifically by his head. And that's because the head in Judaism is thought to be the place where the neshama, the spiritual, godly soul that we have, rests. The neshama shebemochi, it's the place where the brain is the place that sort of sets us apart from other creations in the world, where we have a physical body, but we also have a capability to think deeper and to understand and comprehend God and his ways to a limited degree. And therefore, Yaakov put the rocks by his head in order to symbolize that even the most physical of all things, a rock, which is considered to be even less than an animal at least can have some sort of speech. A plant, let's say, at least grows. A rock is just there. It's domim, it's silent, it just is. That most physical thing should be placed by the head. It should be showing that we Jews here in this world, our goal is to use all physicality to arise up, to go from here all the way to God. I'll just close with one last idea. This interaction with Yaakov and God about recognizing that a place was in fact a holy place sounds very familiar to the story in the beginning of Exodus, in the beginning of Shmot, where Moshe is told by God, Shalna alecha me'ar raglecha, remove the shoes from your feet, because the place where you're standing is Admas Kodesh, the place where you're standing is in fact holy ground. One of the great sages from a couple generations ago, the Chafetz Chaim, explains that in fact we all, in a certain sense, are standing on holy ground. We just have to realize that. We have to remove the shoes, we have to remove the things that are distracting us, and like that we'll be able to serve God. Holy ground, not holy clouds, not a spiritual idea, but holy ground. We're all standing here in this world. We all have the opportunity to serve God with the physical world. We don't have to try to go across the yam. We don't across the ocean to look for spirituality. Kikaro elecha davar ma'od, it's very near to us. It says in the book of Deuteronomy and in Sefer Devarim. It's all very near to us. We just have to tap in to the spiritual system of halacha, of Jewish law, that tells us how to interact with this world. And like that, we should be zocher, we should merit to seeing the physical rebuilding of the temple, of the third Beit HaMikdash, so that we can connect in the highest spiritual way to God. Everyone should have a great Shabbat.